After my husband Robert died, I played his lottery numbers for 12 years. When I finally won $100 million, my son and daughter-in-law, Marcus and Serena, locked me in a closet, calling me confused and a burden. They said it was their turn for the good life. But as the door slammed, I smiled. They just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Like, share, and tell me where you're listening from. Eleanor, a woman whose hands knew the sting of industrial cleaner better than the softness of silk, stared at the lottery results on her old television. At 66, her life as a hospital cleaner was a steady, quiet grind. For 12 years, ever since her dear Robert passed, she had played the same lottery numbers. They were his numbers, a collection of anniversaries and birth dates, a tiny whisper of hope she nurtured twice a week. Tonight, that whisper had roared. $100 million jackpot winner. The words blurred and then sharpened. Eleanor's heart, usually content with its slow, predictable rhythm, hammered against her ribs. She checked her ticket, then the screen, then the ticket again. It was real. Robert's numbers, $100 million. Her first instinct was to call Marcus, her only son. He was her family, her blood. She fumbled with her old flip phone, her fingers trembling with a mix of disbelief and overwhelming joy. Marcus didn't answer. Straight to voicemail. A familiar pang of disappointment, but it was quickly overshadowed by the enormous news she had to share. She tried Serena, Marcus's wife. Serena always answered. Eventually, "What's wrong now, Eleanor?" Serena's voice was sharp, a familiar edge of impatience. It was always, "What's wrong?" Never, "How are you?" Eleanor swallowed, trying to steady her voice. "Serena, something amazing has happened. I won the lottery. $100 million. There was a pause, a moment of silence on the other end, then a burst of harsh laughter. "Eleanor, are you feeling all right? 100 million? You're dreaming." She laughed again, a sound that grated on Eleanor's ears, full of mockery. "Are you calling to ask for money again? Because we're really tight this month." Eleanor opened her mouth to argue, but the line went dead. She frowned, a cold knot forming in her stomach. Had Serena really thought she was just making things up? She looked at the ticket, then at the news report still playing silently on the screen. No, this was real. Only minutes later, a frantic pounding erupted at her front door. Before Eleanor could even get up, it burst open. Marcus and Serena stood there, their faces flushed, their eyes wide and wild. Serena pushed past Marcus, her gaze sweeping the small living room. "Mom, where is it? Where's the ticket?" Marcus, usually reserved, was breathing heavily. "What is going on, Mom? Serena said you called about winning money." Eleanor held up the slip of paper, her hand still shaking. Serena snatched it from her, her movements quick and aggressive. Her green eyes, usually cold, now gleamed with an unsettling, raw hunger as she scanned the numbers. Eleanor watched as Serena's face transformed, her jaw dropping, then hardening into a mask of avarice. "It's real," Serena whispered, her voice barely audible, a strange mix of awe and possessiveness. "It's actually real." Marcus stepped closer, looking at the ticket over Serena's shoulder. His own eyes widened. He turned to Eleanor, a forced concern on his face. "Mom, this is a lot of money. Are you sure you're up to handling something like this? I mean, it's a huge fortune. Well, you're not getting any younger, are you? It's easy to get confused with numbers this big." The implication hung heavy in the air. "We should handle it." "I can handle it," Eleanor said, a tremor in her voice she immediately regretted. She clutched her worn cardigan. "I'll talk to a lawyer first thing tomorrow." Serena scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. "A lawyer? What for?" "We're family, Eleanor. We're your family. We'll sort everything out. No need to bring strangers into our business." Eleanor felt a sharp clench in her stomach. Her instinct, honed by years of navigating subtle betrayals, screamed at her. Serena and Marcus retreated to the kitchen, their voices dropping to urgent whispers. Eleanor could only catch snippets. Huge amount. Can't trust her with it. Our chance. Eleanor sat frozen in her armchair, the warmth of her lottery win quickly fading, replaced by a cold dread. She watched their shadows through the kitchen doorway, sensing the sinister shift in their tone. They weren't discussing her future. They were discussing their future. A future that somehow excluded her. After what felt like an eternity, Serena returned. A sickly, sweet smile plastered on her face. "Eleanor, darling," she began, her tone overly gentle. "Marcus and I have been talking. We think the best thing would be for us to handle all the details for you. The paperwork, the investments, everything. You can just relax, enjoy your golden years." She paused, her smile faltering, replaced by a stern, calculated expression. "After all, I think you're too old and too confused to manage this kind of responsibility." Eleanor pushed herself up from the armchair, a spark of indignation igniting within her. "I am not confused. I'm perfectly capable of managing my own money." Serena's eyes narrowed. "Are you? Do you remember your own birthday last year, Eleanor? Or Marcus's? You forgot both. Remember when you swore you saw Robert in the grocery store? These are signs, Eleanor. Signs that you're not quite yourself. Eleanor's forgotten birthdays, small oversights from a tired old woman, were now weaponized, twisted into proof of cognitive decline. The memory of her husband, a wistful moment of grief, was now a false flag. "Get out," Eleanor commanded, her voice surprisingly firm. "Get out of my house right now." Serena's mask dropped completely. Her face contorted into a snarl. "No, Eleanor, you don't get to make demands anymore. This isn't about you anymore. Not really." Marcus stepped forward then, his face a mixture of regret and grim determination. He looked at Eleanor for a moment, a flicker of the sun she once knew, before hardening his gaze. Firmly, almost gently, he took her arm. "Mom, please. Don't make this difficult." Eleanor tried to pull away, but Marcus's grip was surprisingly strong. He started to drag her towards the bedroom. "Marcus, what are you doing?" she cried, fear lacing her voice. Serena followed behind them, her voice a venomous hiss. "You only suck us dry, Eleanor. Always needing something, always complaining. It's our turn now. It's our turn to enjoy the good life, a life you never gave us." Marcus reached her bedroom closet, a small, dark space filled with old clothes and forgotten memories. He shoved her roughly inside. The closet door slammed shut, plunging Eleanor into darkness. The click of the lock echoed in the confined space. Trapped, humiliated, and utterly betrayed, Eleanor leaned against the cool wall. A wave of despair washed over her, then receded, replaced by something cold and sharp. In the suffocating darkness, a small, knowing smile touched her lips. They had made a crucial mistake. A very big mistake. The darkness of the closet pressed in on Eleanor, suffocating and thick. Her heart pounded a frantic rhythm against the flimsy wall. She could hear Marcus and Serena in the living room, their voices hushed but clear through the thin wood. Serena's voice, sharp and cruel, cut through the quiet. "Honestly, Marcus, this place is a museum of poor people. Look at this hideous armchair. When we finally get Eleanor into a proper nursing home, we should just burn half of it down. Start fresh." Eleanor flinched. Her home, her sanctuary, dismissed as a museum of poor people. And burned? A shiver ran down her spine. Serena continued, her tone chillingly calm as she outlined her plan. "So, here's how we'll do it. Tomorrow, we'll call the authorities. We'll tell them Eleanor suffered a serious episode, that she was confused, maybe even delirious. Say she wandered off for a bit, and we found her disoriented. We'll tell them she's suffering from severe dementia and needs institutionalization. It's for her own good. Really, she's not safe here by herself." Marcus's voice, hesitant, broke the silence. "But Serena, Mom isn't. She's sharp, always has been. People will notice." Serena scoffed. "Sharp? Please, Marcus. You forget things too. Besides, everyone knows older people have sundowning." It's a real thing. Look it up. She gets confused in the evenings, agitated. I've been researching it just in case. Been reading up on all the symptoms, all the reasons why a person might need round-the-clock care. Eleanor's blood ran cold. Just in case. The phrase echoed in her mind, a sinister bell tolling the truth. Serena hadn't just stumbled into this. She had been planning this for months. Meticulously. Patiently waiting for an opportunity. For a sign. For any weakness. The lottery win hadn't just been a blessing. It had been the catalyst. The spark that ignited Serena's long-held, dark intentions. Eleanor's heart sank. Not just from fear, but from the horrifying realization of the depth of Serena's calculated malice. And honestly, Marcus, Serena continued, her voice growing more animated, she's been a burden for years. Remember when she kept asking for money for those utility bills? Or when she demanded you drive her to every single doctor's appointment? And that time her old refrigerator broke, and she expected us to buy her a new one? Always something. Always taking, never giving. Marcus cleared his throat, a weak attempt at defense. She raised me, Serena. Alone, after Dad died, she always provided. Provided what? A roof over your head and hand-me-down clothes? We're talking about $100 million, Marcus. Not pocket change. And you know she'd just give it all away to some charity or some distant relative who suddenly remembers her. She's too old to understand the value of this kind of money. Serena's voice hardened. Absolutely not a single cent to her. She's not getting any of it. A click of the lock, and the closet door creaked open, blinding Eleanor with a sliver of light. Serena stood there, her face a blank mask, holding a bottle of water and a granola bar. She tossed them onto the floor near Eleanor's feet. Here, she said, her voice devoid of warmth. Can't have you dying of dehydration in here. That would mess up our story. Eleanor stared at the items, then up at Serena, her eyes burning. You can't do this, Serena. That money is mine. Serena merely smirked. Oh, Eleanor. It's funny you say that. Because actually, you already signed the ticket over to Marcus yesterday. When you were having one of your episodes, remember? Eleanor gasped. What are you talking about? I never signed anything. That's a lie. Serena chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. A lie? Or your spotty memory playing tricks on you again? Remember that vivid dream you told me about last week? About your deceased mother coming back and giving you advice? You were so confused, Eleanor. We were worried. You were talking nonsense, signing papers that you thought were important messages from the other side. Marcus had to calm you down. Eleanor's mind reeled. The dream. She had told Serena about it. A private moment of grief and longing for her mother. Serena had pretended to listen sympathetically. Now, she was twisting it into evidence of her mental decline, using her personal vulnerabilities against her. Then, the final, crushing blow. Serena pulled a tiny, almost invisible device from her pocket. And just in case anyone doubts your episodes, I've been recording them, for months now. Little snippets here and there. Your confusion, your rambling, your little forgetful moments. All nicely cataloged, building a solid case for your incapacitation. She held the small recorder up, a cruel glint in her eyes. Just perfect for showing how unfit you are to manage anything, let alone $100 million. Eleanor stared at the device, a cold, sickening realization washing over her. All those seemingly innocent questions about her day, about her memories, about how she was feeling. All the time Serena would comment on her being tired or forgetful. It wasn't concern. It was surveillance. Serena hadn't just waited for an opportunity. She had been actively creating it, gathering ammunition, building a meticulous case against her own mother-in-law. The subtle manipulations, the planted suggestions, the feigned sympathy. It was all a calculated, heartless trap. The door slammed shut again, the sound echoing the finality of her situation. Darkness enveloped her once more. Eleanor sank to the floor, the granola bar and water untouched beside her. Tears welled up, hot and stinging. Not just for the lost money, the stolen future, but for the profound, gut-wrenching betrayal. Her own son, her daughter-in-law. They had chosen greed over family, over humanity. They had planned her demise with chilling precision. But as the tears streamed down her face, a different thought began to surface. A tiny, defiant spark in the suffocating darkness. Serena thought she had everything. She thought she had covered every angle. But there was one thing. One critical detail Serena didn't know. A secret weapon, hidden away, just waiting to be unleashed. The metallic grind of Marcus's old pickup truck leaving the driveway confirmed Eleanor's isolation. She heard Serena on the phone, her voice carrying clearly through the thin wall. Yes. She completely lost it, Martha. Just went off the rails. Talking to herself, seeing things. We had no choice but to have her committed. It was for her own good. Really? Serena paused, listening, then lowered her voice slightly, though Eleanor could still hear. Oh, and guess what? She actually won the lottery. $100 million. Can you believe it? Good thing we'll be able to manage her affairs properly now. She'd just squander it. The casual way Serena boasted, already crafting her narrative, sent a fresh wave of disgust through Eleanor. Serena was building her lies, not just for the authorities, but for the entire town. Eleanor sat in the darkness, forcing herself to think. Serena was smart, yes, but arrogant. And in her rush, she had made a critical error. She had acted too quickly, driven by pure greed, without fully understanding the intricate details of claiming such a massive lottery prize. This was the opening Eleanor needed. Days blurred into an agonizing stretch. Her body ached from the hard floor, and the meager rations of water and granola bars were long gone. Hunger gnawed at her, and thirst was a constant companion. Yet, through the gnawing discomfort, a faint hope sparked. She began to hear a frantic edge in Serena's phone calls. The confident boasts had been replaced by frustrated exclamations. Serena was learning the hard way. What do you mean? I need her signature. Serena hissed into the phone one afternoon, her voice tight with barely contained rage. She's practically incoherent. You're telling me I need her to sign a power of attorney? This is ridiculous. A pause, then a frustrated groan. Yes, I understand its procedure, but this is an emergency. She's mentally unstable. Eleanor allowed herself a small, grim smile. Serena's mistake was coming back to bite her. The lottery commission, strict and unyielding, wasn't going to hand over $100 million without proper authorization from the actual winner. Finally, on the fourth day, the closet door scraped open. The sudden light made Eleanor wince. Serena stood there, her eyes narrowed, radiating fury. Marcus was behind her, looking uncomfortable, his gaze fixed on the floor. In Serena's hand was a stack of papers. Get out here, Serena snapped, her voice as sharp as broken glass. Eleanor slowly, painfully, rose to her feet, her joints stiff. Serena shoved the papers at her. They were power of attorney documents, granting Marcus complete control over Eleanor's financial and medical decisions. Sign these, Eleanor. Now, or, I swear to God, I will call the county psychiatric emergency line and have you committed tonight. I have hours of recordings. They'll take you away in a straitjacket. Eleanor took the papers, her eyes scanning the official-looking headings. She looked up at Serena, her gaze unwavering despite her physical weakness. These recordings are fake, manipulated. You know that. Serena scoffed, a sneer twisting her lips. Fake? Who's going to believe that, Eleanor? A confused old woman or a concerned son and daughter-in-law with documented evidence? Marcus stepped forward, his voice softer, laced with a false concern. Mom, please, just sign them. We just want to help you get better. This is for your own good. We're worried about you. He reached out as if to touch her, but Eleanor recoiled. I am not sick, Marcus. I am not confused, Eleanor said, her voice raspy but firm. I am perfectly healthy, and I will not sign away control of my own life or my own money to either of you. Serena's face turned a dangerous shade of red. She pulled out her phone, her thumb hovering over the dial pad, Fine. Have it your way. I'm calling them right now. They'll be here in minutes, and you'll be in a padded cell by morning. Eleanor's mind raced. She needed time. She needed to know exactly what she was dealing with. Wait, she said, a note of desperation she hated revealing. Let me at least read these properly. I can't just sign something without understanding it. That's not how I operate. Serena hesitated, a flicker of suspicion in her eyes, then lowered the phone. Fine. But don't think you're clever, Eleanor. This isn't a negotiation. She thrust the papers back into Eleanor's hands. Eleanor pretended to scrutinize the documents, her eyes darting to the lawyer's name at the bottom. Mr. Davies. A cold wave washed over her. Bill. Bill's former attorney. This wasn't just a random lawyer. Bill was Robert's estranged brother, a man who had once tried to swindle their family out of their small inheritance after Robert's parents died. Mr. Davies had been involved in that mess. The fact that Serena had found him, used him, suggested a deeper level of planning and a more insidious connection. It sent a chill down Eleanor's spine, but also a glimmer of an idea. She quickly confirmed that the documents would indeed give Marcus full power over all her assets, including, implicitly, the lottery ticket. So, this means Marcus would control everything? The house? My bank accounts? And the lottery prize? She asked, feigning ignorance. Serena smirked. Exactly. He'll handle it all. You won't have to worry your pretty little head about a thing. Eleanor nodded slowly, her mind working furiously. She carefully placed the stack of papers on the kitchen table, her movements deliberate. I need to think about this, she said, her voice surprisingly calm. This is a big decision. Serena's patience snapped. Her hand shot back to her phone. Think? You want to think? You have 5 seconds, Eleanor, before I call that number. You have no choice. Eleanor looked at Marcus. Really looked at him. For the first time since this nightmare began. He was still the boy she had raised, the one who loved baseball more than anything. She remembered scrimping and saving, going without new shoes for herself, just so she could buy him that expensive, genuine leather baseball glove he desperately wanted. The way his face lit up when he opened that box was a memory she cherished. Then she thought of Serena and the wedding. Eleanor had given Serena her grandmother's sapphire ring, a family heirloom, a symbol of love and continuity. She had chosen it specifically for Serena, believing it would be cherished. Marcus, Eleanor said, her voice soft but steady. Remember that baseball glove? The one with the real leather that you begged for? I bought that for you. I went without so you could have it. And Serena, she turned her gaze to her daughter-in-law. My grandmother's sapphire ring. I gave that to you. It was meant to be a symbol of our family, of love. Eleanor paused, letting her words sink in. This isn't love, Marcus. This is greed. A flicker of something shame, perhaps, or discomfort crossed Marcus's eyes. He shifted his weight, unable to meet her gaze. For a fleeting moment, Eleanor saw a hint of the good son she once knew. But Serena, ever vigilant, stepped in, her voice cold and dismissive. Oh, please, Eleanor. Don't start with the emotional manipulation. This is exactly what I was talking about, Marcus. More proof of her incompetence, trying to guilt-trip us. It's pathetic. She shoved the pen into Eleanor's hand, forcing the cold plastic against her palm. Sign. Now. The 5 seconds are up. Eleanor's hand trembled, not with fear, but with a simmering rage she hadn't felt in years. She met Serena's furious gaze, a calm settling over her. You're right about one thing, Serena, Eleanor said, her voice clear and resonant. I am not competent to make this decision. Serena smirked, thinking she had won. Finally, she admits it. Not because I'm old or confused, Eleanor continued, ignoring Serena's interruption, but because I lack all the information. She paused, letting the silence hang heavy in the air. Because the lottery ticket you stole? It's not valid. The statement hung in the air, a bombshell exploding in the small kitchen. Serena's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of utter bewilderment. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice laced with a dangerous confusion. "Of course it's valid. It's the winning ticket." "Is it?" Eleanor challenged, her voice gaining strength. "Did you bother to read the rules, Serena? The fine print? The part that states the lottery ticket must be signed by the purchaser within 72 hours of the drawing?" She watched Serena's face, enjoying the slow dawning of horror. "I bought the ticket. Yes. I have the receipt, and I remember the exact time I bought it. But I never signed it. Not a single initial. And the 72-hour window?" Eleanor looked pointedly at her daughter-in-law, "closed yesterday afternoon." Marcus, who had been standing silently, finally spoke up, a desperate hope in his voice. Eleanor shook her head slowly. "It's too late, Marcus. The deadline passed. Any signature now would be considered fraudulent, and the ticket would be invalidated. It's clearly stated in the terms and conditions." Serena's jaw dropped. She snatched her phone, her fingers fumbling as she dialed the Lottery Commission's information line. Eleanor watched her, a strange calm washing over her. She heard Serena's agitated questions, then the terse, professional answers from the other end. Serena's face cycled through disbelief, then anger, then pure, unadulterated panic. She slammed the phone down, her eyes burning holes into Eleanor. "You knew," Serena whispered, her voice a strangled choke. "You knew the whole time." Eleanor simply nodded. "Of course, I knew. I've been playing those numbers for 12 years, Serena. I made sure I knew the rules. It's a significant amount of money. You don't just win that kind of prize without knowing how to claim it properly." She met Serena's furious glare with a steady, unwavering gaze. "I wanted to see, Serena. I wanted to see how far you would go. I wanted to know what kind of people you really were. Both of you." Eleanor pushed herself fully upright, her back straight, her posture defying her age and her recent ordeal. She had endured the hunger, the thirst, the cold, the fear, all to witness this moment. "And now," she declared, her voice ringing with a quiet, devastating finality, "I know." The air in the kitchen crackled with the aftermath of Eleanor's revelation. Marcus stood there, utterly devastated, clutching the now worthless lottery ticket in his trembling hand. He looked at his mother, his eyes filled with a fresh, cold despair. Eleanor shook her head, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. "Oh, the winning numbers were real, Marcus. Very real. I just didn't win it with that ticket." Serena scoffed, still reeling from the shock. "What are you talking about, Eleanor? Stop playing games." Eleanor looked at them, a serene calm settling over her. "For the last 6 months, I've been buying 2 tickets with the same numbers each week. One was for me, the other was for my best friend, Clara. We had an agreement, a pact, to split any winnings, 50-50. A fresh wave of confusion washed over Serena's face. Marcus simply stared, his mind struggling to keep up. "Clara," Eleanor continued, her voice softening slightly at the mention of her friend. "She died 3 months ago. Cancer. But before she passed, she changed her will. She named me as her sole beneficiary. And guess what, children? She had her ticket signed. And I, as her legal beneficiary, claimed her half. $50 million. 2 days ago, Marcus's face went bone white. The implication hit him like a physical blow. While he and Serena had been planning to institutionalize his own mother, while they had locked her in a closet, starving her, humiliating her, Eleanor had been quietly, legally, becoming the owner of $50 million, money left to her by someone who actually loved her, who trusted her, who valued their friendship above everything else. The irony, the sheer cosmic justice, was almost unbearable. Serena let out a guttural scream, a sound of pure, unadulterated rage and frustration. She lunged forward, her hands clawing, intending to strike Eleanor. But Marcus, reacting instinctively, caught her arm, preventing her from reaching his mother. He held her back, his strength surprising even himself. Eleanor didn't flinch. She simply looked at Serena, her gaze unwavering. "I let you show me who you really are, Serena. And you didn't disappoint. Marcus slumped against the counter, releasing Serena. He looked utterly broken. $50 million, he whispered, the figure a torment in his mind. Past tense. Eleanor corrected him, her voice now firm, utterly devoid of emotion. Serena stopped struggling, her eyes narrowing. What do you mean, past tense? She demanded, her voice hoarse. Eleanor allowed herself a small, mirthless smile. While I was locked in that lovely closet, enduring your kind hospitality, I had a little something you forgot to confiscate. My old cell phone. It was hidden in my bra, of all places. You never thought to search a confused old woman, did you? She paused, letting the statement sink in. And with that cell phone, I made a few calls. To my real attorney, not Mr. Davies, your crooked friend. The one who handles Clara's estate. The one who handled my claim for Clara's half of the winnings. Serena's eyes widened, a dawning horror creeping into them. But that's not all, Eleanor continued, her voice chillingly calm. Remember that little recording device you had, Serena? The one you used to capture my decline? Well, it wasn't the only one in this house. I've been recording too, for the past 4 days. Every word, every cruel insult, every calculated plan you two concocted against me. It's all on tape. Your plans to commit me, your boasts about stealing the money, your declaration that you wouldn't give me a single cent, even your lovely suggestion about burning half my poor people's museum of a house. It's all there. Marcus looked at Eleanor with raw fear in his eyes. He stumbled forward, trying to interject, to separate himself from Serena. Mom, no, Serena was the one. She forced me. I didn't want any of this. Eleanor cut him off with a sharp, dismissive wave of her hand. Don't you dare, Marcus. You stood by. You watched. You participated. You dragged me into that closet. You were just as greedy, just as willing to throw your own mother away for money. You are just as complicit as she is. Serena, who had been pacing like a caged animal, suddenly stopped. Her eyes, filled with a dangerous, calculating light, fixed on Eleanor. A slow, chilling smile spread across her face. It was a smile that promised retribution, a quiet threat that Eleanor recognized instantly. This was far from over. Serena's chilling smile widened, a predatory gleam in her eyes. You made a huge mistake, Eleanor, she purred, her voice low and menacing. A very big mistake, admitting you have $50 million, especially since Marcus is your only living relative. She paused, letting the words hang in the air, thick with unspoken threat. You know, old women living alone, they have all sorts of accidents. A fall down the stairs, a slip in the bathtub, food poisoning, maybe. The possibilities are endless. We just have to be patient. Wait for nature to take its course. Marcus, who had been slumped against the counter, shot upright, his face a mask of dawning horror. Serena, what are you saying? His voice was barely a whisper, filled with disbelief. Serena turned to him, her smile unwavering. What do you think I'm saying, Marcus? This old hag just cost us $50 million. She's been nothing but a drain on us for years, always needing something, always complaining. And now she expects us to just let her walk away with all that money, after what we've been through, after what she put us through? She looked at Eleanor, her eyes burning with a cold fury. No, we've earned this. Eleanor felt a cold dread creep up her spine. Serena wasn't just talking about accidents. She was talking about murder. Her mind, sharp and clear despite the past few days, immediately started planning her escape. She began to back slowly, subtly, towards the kitchen door, her eyes fixed on Serena. Serena, however, noticed her movement. She stepped quickly, blocking Eleanor's path to the door. Oh no, you don't, she snarled. She turned back to Marcus, her voice sharp with urgency. And don't forget, Marcus, she has recordings that could send both of us to prison. We can't just let her go now. It's too late for that. Eleanor met Serena's gaze, her own eyes blazing with defiance. You belong in prison, she stated, her voice firm. Serena's smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure hatred. Her hand shot out, grabbing a large chef's knife from the magnetic strip on the wall beside the stove. The glint of the steel was terrifying. Enough talking, she said, her voice flat and devoid of emotion. Marcus let out a choked cry. He lunged forward, his face pale. Serena, put the knife down. This has gone too far, he pleaded, his voice filled with genuine fear. Serena laughed, a chilling, maniacal sound that echoed in the small kitchen. Too far, Marcus? We're already criminals. The only question now is whether we'll be poor criminals or rich ones. She advanced on Eleanor, the knife held loosely but purposefully in her hand. Eleanor's hand, cold and trembling, finally found the doorknob behind her back. She gripped it, ready to turn and flee. Serena raised the knife, her eyes fixed on Eleanor, a chilling determination on her face. This will solve all our problems at once. Eleanor, she hissed, preparing to strike. It was in that moment, when the blade glinted under the kitchen light and Eleanor prepared to lurch backwards, that Marcus finally acted. He moved with a speed Eleanor hadn't seen in years. He grabbed Serena's wrist, twisting it sharply. Serena cried out in pain and surprise as Marcus wrestled the knife from her grasp. With a surge of adrenaline, Eleanor shoved the door open, stumbling backward onto her small porch, gasping for air. Her fingers fumbled for her phone, still tucked securely in her bra. Her eyes darted back to the doorway, just as she punched in 911. 911. What is your emergency? A calm voice answered. My daughter-in-law, Eleanor gasped, her breath catching in her throat. She's trying to kill me. She has a knife. Inside, she heard a sickening crash, the sound of breaking glass, then Marcus's frantic shout, followed by an abrupt, terrifying silence. Heart pounding, Eleanor crept back to her kitchen door, peering cautiously through the small window. The scene inside was horrifying. Marcus lay sprawled on the kitchen floor, a dark pool spreading from a wound on his head. Serena stood over him, perfectly calm, the large chef's knife still clutched in her hand, her eyes devoid of any emotion. It was a terrifying tableau. Serena's head snapped up. Her gaze locked onto Eleanor's through the glass. A slow, chilling smile spread across her face. Without breaking eye contact, Serena began to walk deliberately towards the door. Eleanor didn't hesitate. She turned and fled, stumbling across her yard and pounding on Mrs. Lee's front door. Her elderly neighbor, startled, let her in. The wail of sirens grew louder, closer. Eleanor watched through Mrs. Lee's window as a patrol car screeched to a halt in her driveway. Serena, seeing the officers, quickly dropped the knife onto the floor. Then, with a speed that defied belief, she began a dramatic performance. She collapsed beside Marcus, wailing hysterically, clutching at his still form, tears streaming down her face. He's hurt! My poor Marcus! She attacked him. She just snapped, she shrieked, pointing wildly towards Mrs. Lee's house, her voice thick with feigned distress. Officer Reyes, a seasoned female officer, approached Serena cautiously. Ma'am, we received a 911 call. Eleanor specifically stated you were threatening her life. There was skepticism in her tone. Eleanor, watching from Mrs. Lee's living room, knew she had to act. Serena's lies were meticulously crafted. If she didn't counter them now, she could very well end up in a psychiatric ward, stripped of her freedom and her fortune. She took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and walked out of Mrs. Lee's house, her hands held clearly in view. Serena, seeing Eleanor, immediately rushed towards her, feigning concern. Eleanor! Oh, thank God you're all right. Why did you do this to Marcus? He's so badly hurt. She tried to grab Eleanor's arm, but Eleanor pulled away. Officer Reyes, Eleanor said, her voice calm and steady, cutting through Serena's histrionics. I have been recording everything that's happened here for the past 4 days. She held up her old flip phone, a stark contrast to the modern devices the officers carried, including Serena's threats to kill me, her plans to have me institutionalized, and her attack on Marcus. Officer Reyes's eyes narrowed. You have recordings, ma'am? Yes, I do. Eleanor confirmed. Every word. I have her threatening to let me die in the closet, her planning Marcus's inheritance after my accident, and her admitting she deliberately attacked Marcus just now. I can play them for you right here, right now. Serena's face, a second ago filled with dramatic tears, contorted into a mask of pure terror. She's lying. She's old and confused. She doctored it. You can't believe her, she shrieked, her voice cracking. That old phone can't record anything. Eleanor, ignoring Serena's frantic claims, began to play the recordings. Serena's cruel words, her chilling laughter, her detailed plans to declare Eleanor incompetent, her admission of stealing the first lottery ticket, her threats of murder, even the sounds of the struggle with Marcus. It all poured out of the small speaker, undeniable and damning. Serena's meticulously crafted story crumbled before their very ears. Her face cycled through a horrifying range of emotions: disbelief, panic, and finally, absolute, unbridled fury. Officer Reyes listened intently, her expression hardening with each passing moment. When Eleanor finished playing the most damning clips, Officer Reyes looked at Serena with a grim expression. Serena Johnson, she stated, her voice authoritative. You are under arrest for assault, kidnapping, and attempted murder. Serena fought, kicking and screaming, as the officers handcuffed her. Her mask of composure slipped entirely, revealing a raw, terrifying rage. As she was led past Eleanor, she spat venomously. You old witch! Marcus is my only family, and when he dies, everything goes to me anyway. You haven't won anything. Officer Reyes paused, turning back to Serena. What money are you talking about, ma'am? Serena shrieked. The $50 million. The old hag got $50 million, but it'll be mine eventually. Eleanor felt a cold dread wash over her. Serena was counting on Marcus's death. She was already planning her next move, even in handcuffs. Eleanor looked at Officer Reyes. There's something else you need to know about the money, she said, her voice heavy with a grim realization. Something very important. Eleanor sat in the sterile waiting room of the hospital, the sounds of beeping machines and hushed conversations filling the air. Hours had passed. Finally, a doctor informed her that Marcus was out of surgery. His head injury was serious, a severe concussion, and a deep laceration, but thankfully, not life-threatening. He would recover, though it would be a long road. Detective Eva Stone, a no-nonsense woman with kind eyes, found Eleanor soon after. She sat down, her notepad open. So, Eleanor, Detective Stone began, we have Serena Johnson in custody. She's currently making a lot of noise about doctored recordings and a mentally unstable mother-in-law. But your recordings are quite clear. Her plot of manipulation, imprisonment, attempted theft, and attempted murder for money that, as I understand it, wasn't truly there in the first place, is all laid out. Eleanor nodded, a weariness settling into her bones that had nothing to do with age. There's one more thing you need to know about the money, Detective, Eleanor said, her voice soft but firm. The $50 million, Clara's half, that I claimed 2 days ago, it's not mine anymore. It was never truly for me, not in the way Serena thought. I donated it, every last cent, to the Children's Hospital, the same one where Clara's grandson, little Timmy, was treated for leukemia. He's in remission now, thanks to them. Detective Stone's eyes widened in astonishment. You donated $50 million? The very money they were willing to kill you for? And my own lottery half, Eleanor continued. The one that was never signed? If I had claimed it, it would have gone to the same place. Money doesn't make you rich, Detective. Having people who truly love you makes you rich. And I had a friend who loved me, and a little boy who needed help. Detective Stone leaned back, shaking her head slowly, a look of profound disbelief on her face. So, Serena committed these heinous crimes, tried to kill her own husband and mother-in-law, for money that was already gone, money that was never even hers to begin with. Eleanor merely offered a sad smile. Greed blinds people, Detective. It makes them forget what's real. 6 months later, life had found a new, quiet rhythm for Eleanor. She lived in a cheerful, new senior apartment, a place filled with light and the gentle hum of a supportive community. Her old house, the Museum of Poor People, had been sold, and she had used some of the proceeds to furnish her new home with things that brought her genuine comfort. Marcus visited regularly. His head injury had healed, but the emotional scars were still fresh. He was recovering from memory gaps, a consequence of the blow, but the betrayal, Serena's true nature, and his own complicity were etched clearly in his mind. He had finalized his divorce from Serena, who was now serving a long sentence for her crimes. One sunny afternoon, as they sat on Eleanor's small balcony, sipping tea, Marcus spoke. "I'm in therapy, Mom," he confessed, his voice quiet. "I'm starting to understand. My anger. It wasn't really at you. Not all of it. After Dad died, I resented you for being strong, for moving on. I felt abandoned, even though you worked so hard. Serena. She just tapped into that. Exploited it. Made me believe you owed me something." Eleanor reached across and gently took his hand. "I struggled too, Marcus. Being a single mother, grieving your father, it was hard. I probably made mistakes, but you were always more than enough for me." "My greatest joy," Marcus looked at her, a question in his eyes. "Mom, did you donate the money? To punish me? To punish Serena?" Eleanor squeezed his hand. "No, Marcus. I donated it to honor Clara. And because that money, the way it came into my life, it felt cursed. Every dollar would have reminded me of the pain, the betrayal, the darkness. I wanted to cleanse it, to make something good come from something so ugly." She smiled. And it did. That hospital's expansion, funded by Clara's half, it saved 12 children. Timmy, Clara's grandson, he's in full remission now, running around like a normal boy. "And your ticket?" Marcus asked, still struggling with the concept of letting go of such a fortune. "The one that wasn't signed? The other, $50 million?" Eleanor shrugged lightly. "It's still unclaimed. I intend to let it revert to the state education fund. I've found my true wealth, Marcus. It's not in numbers on a bank statement. It's in peace, in knowing I did the right thing, and in having people who love me, truly love me." She looked at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears, but also with profound serenity. "I've forgiven you, Marcus. It took time, and it was hard, but it's a choice I made, to let go of the anger, to let go of the bitterness, to choose peace." Marcus squeezed her hand back, tears finally flowing freely down his face. They sat in comfortable silence, the afternoon sun warming them, understanding that true value lay not in material possessions, but in freely given love, and that sometimes, losing everything helped you discover what truly matters.